What's up, guys? SDSU with another episode of SDSU Hands. Just want to go through a quick hand I just played. We're going to go in a little bit more analysis on this hand, and we're just going to do one hand to talk about. I just want to talk about this guy who I just played a hand with. Um, the notes on him are he limped on the button, he's garbage, calls super light on the river to shoves short stacker. Um, he's just basically a really bad player. So he's gonna do things such as timing tells, um, just not play well, make very amateurish mistakes. And I think this is really gonna highlight a regular compared to somebody that's a little bit newer, and why you should be playing so differently against different player types. So what we're going to do here is go into our replayer. I just played this hand. I just want to talk about it. So let's pop this open. Give me 1 second to, let's see here. We're going to go to our replayer here. This is fantasy football, so let's see why it's not popping up. Here it is. Great. So, to give you premise on this hand, we had just played a session. I had to go for a second, and I came back because I want to play against this guy as much as possible. In this hand, have King, Jack, King, Jack offsuit, and the specific suits was a King of Hearts and Jack of Diamonds. So let's go ahead and play this back. So right off the bat, I raised with um, a marginal holding for being under the gun, and you can fold this under the gun if you want to, with a little bit worse people being in the hand. The only player that's being somewhat aggressive is Ice T, which is the player um, three to the right of me on the button here. So I do think that the way he had been playing was a little bit, I guess, he wasn't playing back at raise early position raises, but definitely as I raised in the blinds and things like that, he was playing back a lot more. So I mean, there isn't too many people here that are re-raising me light. So I went ahead and elected to raise the King Jack offsuit. The the weak player at the table um, went ahead and called. And so on this flop, I can go ahead and continuation bet, but I do think he's going to be playing back a fair amount with almost all of his hands, which is definitely, I mean, a true statement after you see what he had and what he called pre-flop with. So I went ahead and checked back. Um, and then I think I checked back. You can kind of see how I timed down a little bit. And really make note of the timing tells this guy has and what he's really thinking about with that turned eight of clubs and what that kind of signifies. So he timed down fairly large and then bet 20. So what does that really say to somebody? I mean, one, we know this guy's amateur. He isn't, leveling us or anything along those lines. And then he times down on an eight of clubs. So, I mean, the most likely scenarios here is the eight affected the hand in some way, so you had to think about it. It's a club, so we have two to a flush on the board. He could definitely have, a lot of straight draws come in here. We do block the king and the jack though. He could have an eight. But I think he's betting or checking a little bit faster with a pair of eights here. So therefore, it kind of leads me to the conclusion he's a little bit more likely to be on a draw. So I go ahead and call with my 2 overs and a gut shot. And I time down a bit too to think about it. Or sorry, I re-raise here um, because I do think that he is on a draw most likely. He is definitely going to be calling with an 8, don't get me wrong. And again, if he does have an 8, I think he's going to be calling um, fairly quickly. So he times down again, thinks about it. The 9 comes on the river, and that basically says, I didn't have a 9, I was kind of bluffing, and then I check back pretty fast. Um, Now, when he times down on the river here, this, I'm trying to think about what this means, right? If he has an 8 and he's bad, he's going to be, there isn't much to think about what he's going to do with an 8. He already knows what he's going to be doing with an 8. Is he really thinking, all right, what does this guy have? Should I go for a thin value bet? But what if he has it? He's not doing that. He's thinking, all right, should I be bluffing here? I don't have anything. Or I have a 9, and what's the appropriate amount? I mean, it's pretty polarizing, I would say, in that aspect. And not only that, but he times down for a fairly long time here. He goes into his time bank and just really tanks as to what he's going to do. He goes for a pretty small bet. That isn't too concerning for me. If he has a 9, I think he's going to go a little bit bigger. Um, and this is just all a line of logic as to his story doesn't add up. I mean, he's a bad player, so why is he tanking? He's a bad player, so why is he betting uh, a card that doesn't need to be thought about too much? All these sort of things just don't add up, so he's not really telling a coherent story. And I go for a pretty quick call, as I've already thought that it's most likely that he is on a draw, along with the fact that the river bet's so small. Not only does it give me better odds, but it also enforces the idea that he doesn't have a 9. So I hope that everything made sense there. Let's go ahead and actually replay this hand and talk about the turn re-raise. Again, you can kind of just call on the turn here, and that isn't a big deal. Um, but I think it's going to give me a little bit more information specifically on this player since he did time down on that 8 and then bet. I think that I have a gut shot, 2 overs. I know how to play a little bit better. I'm not too scared of him shoving on me. Oh man, I totally tried to sit back down onto that table, but somebody took my spot. No problem. And that guy had left anyway. So anyway, on the turn here, I think that going for a raise with a hand that basically beats all of the draws in terms of showdown value. It's a neat little play that I typically don't work into my game, but I think in this scenario made a lot of sense. Also, I can't be doing this specific play had I not been playing one table. So as you play more tables, making these sort of plays becomes extremely difficult if you're not, the best of the world at it. I mean, even then, if you are the best at the world at something, um, your level of thinking isn't going to be on the level of what it would be had you been playing less tables and put more thought into something. So again, I hope this hand was pretty educational for you in terms of catching off somebody's bluff, how to play against somebody who is bad, and what a bad player who is timing down and giving off timing tells is going to help you, win some more money. So again, this is SDSU with Global Poker, and this is my hands hand of the day. I'll also try to be kind of copying what Doug Polk does on his YouTube channel or did on his YouTube channel in terms of going into details on specific hands as well as specific hands played by pros that have been out recently, and just kind of give my analysis as the commentators on those shows are extremely, extremely terrible. So um, I would not listen to the commentators on those poker shows. They're not good poker players typically, on Poker Go specifically, um, and they just really don't give high level analysis, and they're really there for entertainment purposes. But I'll put that together, and please leave me a comment on this hand as to any sort of questions, how you would have played this specific hand had you put a little bit more thought into it, and how cool or how noticeable you saw the timing tells of an amateurish type player and how that affected the hand. So thanks a lot, and I hope you guys liked it. Bye.